You know that moment when you're building something cool and you think, man, it'd be great to have someone else in the trenches with me?
Yeah. Yeah.
But then you also hear those stories that make your hair stand on end partnerships gone wrong, really
Oh,
wrong.
yeah. The horror stories.
So let's get real today. We're digging into what makes a business partnership really work, take off like a rocket ship.
But then what turns it into, well, a dumpster fire?
Exactly. Because partnerships can be total game changers, but you've really got to go in with your eyes wide open.
Absolutely. And we've looked at a ton of different perspectives here. We've got advice from entrepreneurs who've, been there, done that. People like Alex Hormozy, Josh Neimel.
Okay.
Then there's the legal lowdown from experts like Michael Edwards and resources like Investopedia and the
Mhm.
Southron firm.
Right, the practical stuff.
Yeah, and solid guidance from places like American Express and Shopify, plus even some really unfiltered experiences shared by folks on Reddit.
Reddit. Okay, that should be interesting. So our goal today is pretty straightforward, right? Mm-hmm.
We want to give you the inside scoop on navigating partnerships, whether you're just starting to think about teaming up or maybe you're in one right now.
Or even trying to figure out how to make your current partnership better.
Exactly. We're going to break it all down.
Yes.
So let's kick things off. Why would anyone even consider bringing someone else into their business world? What are the upsides?
Well, one of the really big pluses, and you see this mentioned by American Express and Shopify, is filling those gaps.
Gaps in skills.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you're amazing at, say, creating the product, but sales and marketing feel like a completely foreign language.
Mhm.
A partner who's a natural at getting the word out, closing deals.
Right.
That can be a huge asset. It's about bringing different strengths and different knowledge to the table.
So the whole thing becomes stronger than just you alone.
Precisely. The whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts.
That makes total sense. And it's not just about what you know, though, is it? It's also about what you have, like resources, right? American Express and Shopify talk about that, too. Pooling financial resources. Combining funds can give you more firepower.
More capital to work with.
Yeah, and maybe even make it easier to get a loan. Two wallets are often better than one, especially when you're trying to grow something.
Definitely. And what about just the sheer amount of work?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's not forget about simply sharing the load. Running a business is, well, it can be exhausting.
Tell me about it.
Having someone to split those responsibilities, as American Express and Shopify mentioned, can really prevent burnout.
Mm-hmm.
And it lets each of you focus on what you actually do best. You can sort of divide and conquer.
And I guess having another person means another perspective, too.
Exactly. American Express notes how a partner can bring new ideas, challenge your thinking. It's easy to get tunnel vision,
Yeah, when you're so deep in it.
A partner can shake things up, often in a really good way, bring fresh eyes.
Okay, that's a good point. What else?
There's also that really important emotional support element. American Express touches on this.
Emotional support in business?
Yeah, seriously. Being an entrepreneur can be a pretty lonely road sometimes.
Sure.
Having a trusted partner who gets the ups and downs, someone to vent to, someone to celebrate the wins with, that can be incredibly valuable.
Like having a co-pilot.
Exactly. A co-pilot on a long, sometimes bumpy journey.
And more connections, maybe, like networks.
Yep, American Express points that out too. Your partner likely knows people you don't, and vice versa. That can open doors to new opportunities, new clients, new partnerships even.
Expanding the reach.
And Investopedia brings up something practical too. Economies of scale. Sharing resources, office space, software licenses. It can lower costs.
Smart stuff. Makes sense.
Definitely a smart way to potentially scale up. But, it's a big but.
Ah, here it comes. The other shoe drops.
Well, yeah. Like any big relationship, there's another side to this. We absolutely need to talk about the potential downsides, the pitfalls.
Right, the stuff that can go really wrong.
Right.
Shared liability sounds like a scary one. American Express and Shopify both warn us about this.
It's huge. You could be on the hook personally for your partner's mistakes or debts, even if you had absolutely nothing to do with them.
Wow, so their screw-up could impact your personal finances.
Absolutely. It can have a very real, very direct impact on your personal life. It's a serious risk you need to understand.
Okay, that's sobering. What else? Control,
Yeah, loss of autonomy. If you're used to being the sole decision maker calling all the shots.
which a lot of entrepreneurs are.
Exactly. Sharing control, as American Express mentions, can be a really big adjustment. It needs give and take. You have to compromise, see things from their angle, even when you don't fully agree.
And disagreements are inevitable, right?
Oh, for sure. Different opinions on strategy. Maybe one person feels like they're pulling all the weight.
Yeah, the I'm doing more work issue.
Right. Shopify and American Express both highlight these as major potential friction points. It can really sour the relationship.
And I've heard people compare business partnerships to a marriage. Alex Hormozy, some Reddit folks.
It's a really common analogy, and for good reason. They can become deeply intertwined with your personal lives. Hormozy stresses that your partner's personal stuff will impact the business.
Like if they're going through a divorce or something.
Exactly, or even just decide they want out, they want to travel the world, whatever. As American Express mentions, a partner leaving or having personal issues creates instability for the whole business.
And the obvious one, you have to share the money, right?
Yep. Splitting the profits. American Express and Shopify remind us of that simple fact. Less money in your individual pocket, potentially.
Okay, so there are definite pros and cons. How do you tilt the odds in your favor? How do you aim for a good partnership and avoid, well, a terrible one?
Okay, so a really key thing, Hormozy hammers this home, and others echo it, is having complementary skills and resources.
We talked about that as a pro.
Right, but it's crucial for avoiding disaster too. As Hormozy bluntly puts it, if your partner brings the exact same skills as you, one of you is basically redundant.
Ouch. But true.
You want someone who fills your gaps, strengthens your weaknesses, and vice versa. It's about building a balanced, effective team, not just cloning yourself.
Makes perfect sense. You don't need two quarterbacks and no one to block.
Exactly. Then there's the really critical element of having the same big picture in mind. You need alignment.
Alignment on what?
On the mission, your core values, the vision for where the business is going. Hormozy and the Reddit community both really highlight this. If you want to build a lifestyle business and your partner wants to build a billion-dollar unicorn, yeah, you're going to constantly be pulling in different directions. You need to want the same fundamental thing.
Okay, shared vision. Got it. What else is crucial?
Crystal clear expectations and agreements right from the start. This is non-negotiable.
Document everything.
Everything. Hormozy, Shopify, Phoenix Strategy Group, they all stress this.
Yeah.
Document roles, responsibilities, contributions, time, money, ideas, how ownership equity is split.
No handshake deals.
Absolutely not. Hormozy is super firm on this. Handshake deals, verbal agreements. They're just asking for trouble down the line when memories fade or things get tense. Get it in writing.
Couldn't agree more. And it's not just about the beginning, right? It's got to stay fair.
Totally. It's about making sure the workload and contributions remain equitable over time. Hormozy and Southern Firm warn about this if one partner feels like they're constantly doing more, carrying the load.
Resentment builds up.
Exactly. Resentment is poison to a partnership. And Phoenix Strategy Group points out that the equity split should reflect all contributions, not just cash, but also intellectual property, sweat equity, the level of risk each person takes on.
But that seems fair. Sweat equity is real.
It absolutely is. And let's not underestimate the power of just good communication.
Seems obvious, but maybe it's not always easy.
It's essential. Southern Firm and folks on Reddit emphasize this. Open, honest communication is how you navigate disagreements, how you stay aligned. It requires effort.
And trust, I imagine.
Trust and mutual respect. Foundational. Comes up a lot on Reddit. You have to trust your partner's judgment, their integrity, their commitment.
How do you gauge that, though?
Well, one interesting tip from Reddit was to, observe how a potential partner treats other people, like service staff, waiters, things like that.
The waiter test.
Kind of, yeah. It can tell you a surprising amount about someone's character and level of respect for others.
That's actually a really good practical tip. Okay, so let's say you've done your homework, you feel good about someone, the vision aligns, skills complement. What's the next step? How do you make it official and, protect everyone?
Okay, this is where you get into the structure, the legal side of things. It's really important.
Okay, LLCs and stuff.
Exactly. Michael Edwards, Investopedia, Shopify, they all outline the different types. You've got general partnerships, limited partnerships or LPs, limited liability partnerships, LLPs, and limited liability companies, LLCs.
And they're all different.
Yeah, crucially different in terms of liability protection, protecting your personal assets if the business gets sued or goes into debt, and also how the business is managed and taxed. It's definitely not one size fits all.
So in a general partnership, you're more exposed.
Typically, yes.
Yeah.
In a standard general partnership, all partners can be held personally liable for business debts, even if just one partner caused the problem. An LLC or LLP usually offers more personal liability protection.
Okay, that seems like a pretty big decision then.
It is. And that structured decision leads right into the partnership agreement. Think of it as the operating manual for your partnership.
A roadmap, you said.
Exactly. Shopify and Michael Edwards both call this legally binding document absolutely crucial.
What needs to be in it?
Oh, lots of detail. Partner stakes, who owns what percentage, initial contributions, money, assets, IP, specific roles and responsibilities, who does what, how profits and losses get shared, very importantly, how decisions get made.
Like majority vote or
Yeah.
unanimous.
It needs to specify that. And crucially, as Shopify and Self-Run Firm point out, it needs to outline how you'll handle disagreements, dispute resolution.
So you know the process before you start fighting.
Ideally, yes.
Mhm.
Mediation, arbitration,
Mm.
what steps will you take? It also needs to detail what happens if someone wants to leave, or if you add a new partner, or if, worst case, the partnership dissolves.
Like buy-sell agreements.
Exactly. Buy-sell provisions are key. Shopify, Michael Edwards, Phoenix Strategy Group all mention their importance for a smooth exit strategy if needed.
It sounds like a prenup for your business.
That's a great way to think about it. It forces you to have potentially awkward conversations up front, which is much better than having them when things are falling apart.
What about taxes? Is that complicated?
It depends on the structure, but often, as Shopify, Michael Edwards, and Investopedia note, partnerships use pass-through taxation.
Pass through.
Yeah, it basically means the business itself doesn't pay income tax. Instead, the profits or losses are passed through to the individual partners, and they report it on their personal tax returns.
Okay.
But the rules vary, and this is critical, as Michael Edwards and Shopify strongly advise. Get legal advice.
Don't try to DIY the partnership agreement.
Please don't. A lawyer specializing in business law can help you choose the right structure and draft an agreement that's comprehensive, legally sound, and actually protects everyone involved. It's an investment that can save you enormous headaches later.
Makes perfect sense. Okay, so let's flip back to the choosing a partner stage. Are there any big flashing red flags we should be watching out for? Warning signs?
Oh, definitely. There are several common ones. Alex Hormozy and Southern Firm both warn against a lack of clarity or alignment on goals and vision. If you're talking to someone and they're vague about where they see the business going, or your visions just don't match up.
Big red flag.
Huge. Also, Hormozy points to someone being unwilling to put things down in writing. If they resist documenting agreements, roles, equity,
Why would they do that?
exactly, it should make you very nervous. Transparency and documentation are key. If they want to keep things loose and based on handshakes, run.
Okay, good warning. What about, like, effort?
Yeah, unequal contribution, or maybe the expectation of unequal contribution. Hormozy and Southern Firm both mention this. If it feels like they expect you to do the lion's share of the work while they coast,
Recipe for disaster.
total recipe for resentment and failure. You want someone who's ready to roll up their sleeves just as much as you are. Southern Firm also flags poor communication or interpersonal skills. If they're difficult to talk to, defensive, not good listeners, that's going to be a struggle day in and day out.
Makes sense. Hormozy also mentioned differences in work ethic or lifestyle, right?
If one person is an early bird, grind-it-out type, and the other expects a 4-hour work week starting at noon, that fundamental difference in approach and expectation can cause serious friction in a business setting.
Yeah, I can see that.
And another one Hormozy suggests looking at, cautiously, is someone's history. A string of failed partnerships might be a red flag.
Might be a pattern.
It could be. Although it's also important, as Josh Steimel implies, that people reflect and learn from past experiences. But still, it's worth asking about.
What about red flags from, like, the Reddit crowd? Anything specific there?
Yeah, some users pointed out things like unfair initial offers, someone trying to lowball you on equity right at the start, or just dodgy negotiating tactics generally. Also, a big one was a potential partner lacking relevant industry knowledge. You want someone who brings something valuable, not someone you constantly have to teach the basics.
Okay, lots to watch out for. But let's say you have an agreement, you're up and running, but disputes still happen, even with the best intentions. How do you handle those?
Yeah, it happens. Southern Firm offers some good practical steps here. First, pull out that partnership agreement.
See what you agreed on for dispute resolution.
Exactly. It might already spell out the process. But the very first step should always be clear, open, and ideally documented communication. Try to talk it through first.
And if that doesn't work?
Then you might consider bringing in a neutral third party. Mediation or arbitration are often suggested as less costly and less adversarial alternatives to going straight to court.
Trying to find a resolution outside of lawyers and judges.
Right. Sometimes the issue might be deeper. Maybe the alignment really is lost, In that case, you might need to explore restructuring the partnership, changing roles, or even one partner buying out the other.
A buyout, okay.
That can sometimes be the cleanest way forward if things just aren't working. And really, litigation suing your partner should be the absolute last resort. It's expensive, it's draining, and it usually destroys the relationship completely.
Got it. Last resort only. So, wrapping this all up, if you had to boil it down, what's the core message here about business partnerships?
I think it's that they have incredible potential, they can be really powerful, but they absolutely require careful thought up front, crystal clear communication throughout, and that shared understanding of where you're both trying to go.
Yeah.
Alignment is key.
And doing your homework on the person is just as vital as market research, maybe more so.
Yeah.
And definitely get that agreement in writing.
Absolutely. That due diligence on the partner and formalizing everything with a solid, well-thought-out legal agreement,
Mhm.
those are non-negotiable steps.
Yeah.
And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with. When you're considering a partner, try not to just focus narrowly on the skills or money they bring right now.
Think longer term.
Exactly. Ask yourself,
Yeah.
is this someone I can genuinely build with? Someone I can trust when things get tough, because they will get tough? Is this someone I can navigate challenges with and, actually celebrate the successes with down the road?
Mhm.
Because ultimately, a successful business partnership, really like any strong relationship in life, needs that solid foundation.
Mhm.
Shared values, mutual respect, trust. So maybe take a moment to reflect on your own needs, what you truly value and what you're really looking for in someone you're going to build something significant with.